Question for you regarding recovery again.
Yeah.
Last we talked, you said you would value your order of importance of recovery would go pool protocol, sauna cold plunge, and then the walking jogging.
hmm
Um, what would you do for your sauna cold plunge protocol?
The sauna cold plunge. Um, well, first of all, a lot of times you do cold plunge in the morning, you
Yeah,
know.
I loved it. I
Yeah,
loved that. It was
I mean, a
awesome.
lot of people do. I'm a total pussy. Yeah, not doing that one. Sorry. I mean, I'll get in, but yeah, later on in the day, but the morning, I'm like, maybe I'll try it one day. I right now, I still, and even when I'm fat, it's bad.
It hurts.
You think you get a little bit more insulation, but um, the believe it or not, the I have an old finish method in for the sauna protocol and sauna cold plunge. So we call it the 100, 75, 50, 25. Or 25, 50, 75, 100's actually the way you do it. So you get in the sauna and you sit there until you get 25 drips of sweat off your nose. And you go in the cold plunge for 3 minutes.
3
Come
minutes.
back
At what
out.
temperature is the cold plunge?
Oh, well, a lot of times we're breaking ice off it, but under 42 degrees or 42.
For three
And you
minutes.
go,
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah. Well, if you're in the sauna, yeah, you sit in it, If you're in the sauna, you don't even feel it for the first minute and a half.
Oh, really?
No, no, you're radiating heat. As long as you don't move, you'll stay warm. And then it just starts to bring. So about 3 minutes here, you're like, oh damn, time to get out of here. Yeah, that's the finish. That's how, and so then you go back in and 75 drips. I mean 50 drips. Back out. You go back in 75 drips. Back out. Go back in 100 drips. Back out. Come back in, just get warm again, and then you're done.
I would be seeing Jesus after that. I mean,
Oh,
after the first,
well,
I
that or,
would
or
be
calling your mates
crying.
Jesus because you can't tell. But no, it's actually when you're used a good sauna and your whole body is immersed at about 185, yeah, about 185 degrees. You got to be up there. When you get in the water, you don't feel it. And then it just slowly creeps in on you as the body heat, because there's this buffer. It's only like that. That's why if you move, you screw yourself. You got to get in there and just don't move. Don't move. And then as soon as you start moving, you're done. Everything just gets cold really fast. But yeah, 3 minutes is the max you could stay in. Some people stay in for 4. I don't know how they do it, but
Have you ever seen Hickson Gracie, how he does the cold up?
No.
He go less than a minute,
yeah,
snorkel, head
get
underneath,
in. Yeah,
head in, just a snorkel. That's how he does his cold up.
yeah. And that's the old Finnish way. I don't know if it's bad or good for you, that particular method, but it's easy to reproduce.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember, and if it's 2 minutes, then it's 2 minutes. But typically, if your body gets right, 3 minutes is not very hard.
Oh.
But but you have to sit still. Do not move.
We got the running
Yeah, I
water
mean,
in my cold plunge.
Oh, no, you're screwed. You got to turn the running water off. No, in the old days, we just used the horse trough, a big round,
Oh,
cattle thing, and we just fill it with water, break the ice off, so it's because I mean, not winter, but some of the winter, and then just come right out of the sauna and step right in. And it's weird because you don't feel the cold when you step in. And then, a minute and a half later, it's creeping in, and by 3 minutes, you're like, I got to get the hell out of here. Yeah, you're shivering, and every bone in your body is ready to go. But then you go back in that sauna, and, oh, it feels great.
glory.
Yeah.
And I mean, the four rounds of that knocks you out
Oh,
cold.
you sleep
No,
like a baby.
yeah.
Oh, no, that is recovery right there. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
would you say that with an intensive sauna cold protocol like that, what kind of state are people going to be in the next day after that? Because
oh,
is that
great.
going to they'll be great? They're good
That'd be
for high
great.
work next
No,
day.
because you just taken their sympathetic's going to respond to that. They're going to sleep like babies, and then the next morning they're good to go.
What time would you have them do that protocol?
Oh, usually try to do it either after dinner, an hour or so, or right after their last session. You try to do it within 3 hours of sleeping because you're not going to be able to stay awake anyways. Once you do that,
Yeah,
you're going to
no.
sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, your body just goes, and it has to. It wants to sleep at that point.
So you have them postprandial. Postprandial. So you have them after dinner, they do the sauna cold
If
plunge.
if if their situation is such they can't do it any other time, yeah.
That's interesting.
Getting access to that stuff isn't easy. That is not optimized. That's just like reality of the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah.
Like some people have to work. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes you just can't get to it. So, if you've got an hour and a half or so, you've probably digested most of your food if you're healthy. If you're old like me, you got to take some digestive enzymes. But yeah, and then they can just get in. And it's also, I think, nice to do at night, not when it's during the day.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like it interrupts me a little bit, getting all hot. That's what I find at least.
Well, that's
I
why I
don't know.
finish. That's why I finish with the cold, and then just get back in the hot, just to warm up a little, but not to go hard. Just enough to get warm.
Mm.
You go in longer, then yeah. I mean, a sauna itself. The other thing is if you have one, you can turn the sauna off while you're in the last water and just do far infrared.
Okay.
And just do the far infrared part.
Hmm.
Now, I would not do far infrared in cold plunge. You don't get cold. You don't get warm enough.
Yeah.
You just don't. You're gonna freeze.
Hmm.
You can't do that at 3 minutes. A regular, good old fashioned sauna, you can do it. You can do it.
And there's no real benefits between the infrared and the traditional anyway, right?
I don't know. From what I hear, there is. I mean, I have both sitting on the other side of the wall here. Um, the infrared is supposed to have some other really good qualities, and I haven't tell you the truth, haven't used it enough myself to know. Can't speak from experience. I mean, I just like regular saunas too much. See, I like regular saunas with water added. Some people don't.
Yeah, the wet sauna.
Yeah.
A wet sauna, not a dry sauna. I mean, it's a dry sauna, but you throw water on the stones.
Yep. Yep.
But that's how you get your 25, 50, 75, 100. Or otherwise, it'd never happen.
I'll tell you what, if you ever come East Coast, if you ever come to New York City, let me know and I'll take you to one of the best saunas you'll ever go to. It's insane. It's a Russian bathhouse.
Um,
And they have an aroma sauna, they have a super hot sauna, they have the wet sauna, the coldest cold plunge you'll go to. It's awesome. It is fantastic.
um, yeah, there's another place there called Biformation. Have you been to those guys?
No.
Biformation is a kind of a biohacking place in New York City as well. The in the old days, I don't know how if you guys are old enough to remember the Vic Tanny weight gyms. Do you know? So Vic Tanny used to be like World's Gym or Gold's Gym. There was one everywhere, you know. But Vic Tanny's used to have cold plunges. First place I ever went in a cold plunge, years, I mean, we're talking 40 years ago. All of Vic Tanny's had cold plunges. And now there's something, now you probably can find them under a different name. They might be, who knows? But if you look up the Vic Tanny and chain, there must have been 1,200 of those across the U.S.
Oh wow.
And what
No, I mean, it was huge.
were they going in the cold in between sets? Like this latest research coming up with the cooling gloves for bicycle and stuff. Is that
Well, the cooling gloves are out of Stanford. I mean, I was pretty aware of that research back in, I don't know what it was, 2006, 2007. Stanford started doing that. Basically they're looking at polar bears, how they lost heat or kept heat. And they were looking. So you just put ice in your hands with all you have to do. You just pick up a couple pieces of ice in between sets and throw it back down, and you're going to get pretty much the same effect for cooling. I mean, it doesn't take a lot or nothing fancy.
Huh.
That might not be bad for my ice hockey guys when they're sitting on the bench.
You'd have to be able to measure them and find out. I mean, what's the most important recovery thing for them? I mean, they got what, minute and a half shifts, and
Usually time for the shift, on shift, usually minute and a half to depends how much you're playing, but a minute and a half usually is the shortest amount of
yeah,
rest.
yeah. I mean, you get a guy who goes 2 minutes 30. That's a long shift. There's some pretty special guys
Mm.
doing that. Um, back when I was training Gretzky, we went through all of this with him, and to look at it, particularly in the weight room and his running. I mean, we did everything, kind of started to base it on his shift. His shifts were long though. He skated longer than most guys, but his VO2 was 67 too. Which is high for a hockey player. I think it might have been one of the highest ever measured at that point. Um, uh, but for hockey, minute 30, minute 30 rest. I don't know that you need to cool them off that much. You're already in a cooled atmosphere. They're hot under their pads and stuff, though. Pretty sweaty, that's for sure. Um, to me, it's interesting. And I would think keeping a magnesium drink in them for the duration of the game would be more important than worrying about them overheating. Yeah,
Hmm.
Cool.
not sure
Yeah,
these
just
days.
the
But,
amount of sweat. I mean, these guys sweat more than any other sportsman I've
it,
seen.
it it seems that way because if you get anywhere near their equipment, you're pretty aware of that. Um, you
But even
know.
without the equipment, just in the gym, normally they get on the bike for 10 minutes, and I think they've just conditioned themselves. As soon as the
Yeah.
heart rate's up, they drip.
Have you started using a lot of SMO2 with your hockey players?
So I did my master's thesis on the Moxy.
On the Moxie, yeah, because it was out of Switzerland. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know the Andre Feldman. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I know Under.
And so I used that back a long time ago, and we did some on ice testing using this, and then we were using it a lot in the off season using the slide boards.
Sure.
So what we would do is we would use the Moxie devices on usually the dominant leg when it was the whole group, and then
Hmm.
what we would do, it'd be beaming onto a big projector, and then we're basically saying, right, this is more or less the shift length that you're going to go for so that we can get maximum utilization of oxygen, and you're not going to kick back off until you're at this level and you've held it above that percentage for a certain period of time. So but this was, oh, what was that, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
8 years
Well,
ago?
Moxie came out probably 2011 or so,
Yeah.
1911, somewhere right in there. What we did most recently with my intermediate runner is we did her treadmill stress test. We did her VVO2 and VO2 testing, and then we did it with we used Human because we didn't have Moxie, but we did that along with her lactates. So then I knew exactly what her oxygen content was at her different lactates. So then I could say, okay, don't go below this because you drop down, in that case, you drop down 1%. And then when you come back up to, homeostasis, then we go again. And it's just interesting that homeostasis for her occur between 3 and 4 minutes on, let's say, 1,000-meter runs. So, and yet I wouldn't let her, I would control her intensity with her SMO2. I'd say, look at it. Instead of heart rate, I'd say, I don't want you going below 68%, and then she recover back, not 60, more like 55%. Then she recover back up to 71, 72% and go again. Works
Yeah.
really well. It's like, how do you ever train without it? You know?
So it is pretty handy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a metric you haven't had a chance to use before. You know? I've been using it since I guess 2015. So yeah, for me, it is it's a nice way to be, again, to make the athlete accountable. to get them to understand the intensity you want them to work at. So not just time, not just effort, but a true physiological process that you understand coming off their VVO2 testing. So if I know velocity at VO2, then I know and I know what her SmO2 is at that velocity. That's about all I need. Let's go.
That's true. That's true.
Well, what else we got, guys? It's what time is it, for God's sakes? Oh, it's 1 o'clock. 3 hours in.
I say
And
we call it here, Randy.
yeah, we want you back, but we're not going to overstay our welcome here with you.
Well, we started off down in the rabbit hole, and we ended up at VVO2 with 800-meter runners. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But dude, that's what this shit is all about. And this is how I learn. Like selfishly, honestly, like I want you back on for me. People ask for you, but like shit, I just want to keep picking your brain, and I'll just let everyone else hear it.
Well, you looked up Quantec, didn't you, last time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another weird one. Cool. But I think more and more people are going to start down that Quantec rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
I've run into it more, which is interesting.
What's the website?
Quantec.de, I think. Is it? Let's see. Uh-oh. Costco's got to recall their butter,
Oh no, what butter?
not the Irish one.
Son of a bitch.
Kirkland Signature. 79,200 pounds of Kirkland Signature butter due to an allergy. Wow.
Of course. I can't find this website.
You got you know why? Oh man, this is amazing. They have to recall it because the packaging doesn't have an allergy warning that this product contains milk.
Fuck out of here.
Let's see if I can get it in there. What? I got to find that magic spot.
There we go.
Oh, it's backwards anyway.
Signature sweet cream butter list as an ingredient. Oh my God. But do not include allergy warning. The butter contains milk. These fucking people. Randy, you have my fucking heart drop because that's the shit I use for my kids.
No, I mean, but there's nothing bad in it. It just doesn't
Nothing.
say
Just doesn't say
milk.
fucking butter.
Let me think. I haven't been around butter recently. Doesn't that come from cows?
Bro.
Tell you what, Randy, just before we boogie, if you wouldn't mind, mate, because I know you've read everything,
Not
could
really.
you with a couple good books on more sports psychology, please?
Oh, well, there's the old standby. Um, Ralph Vernacchia's book is pretty good. I still like the one they use. Oh, God, what's his name? He used it in the combine actually for years. Let's see. Let's see here. Okay, guys, hold on. Can't remember where I put my sports psychology stuff. I think it's way up there. Oh, hey, guess what? I found emotional anatomy,
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna get that.
but we already found that online.
The mental game?
Vernacchia, yeah. Ralph was it actually at Western Washington University.
Who's it by?
Ralph Vernacchia, Vernaccia. Sorry, guys.
Brooker, did you load it up?
Find it.
Did you find it?
No, could you just spell out the name again? Sorry.
Um, yeah, just I'm going back over here to another area.
Vernaccia.
Yeah,
Ralph A. Vernaccia.
right.
Which book? So, coaching mental excellence.
Yeah, that's
It does
one.
it does matter whether you win or lose. Case studies in applied sports psychology and educational approach. Inner strength, mental dynamics of athletic performance. Probably that one.
Yeah,
And
well,
psychology at
Ralph's just very good at all of them.
yeah.
Um, Rick McGuire's book, Coaching Mental Excellence, Coaching for Commitment. Um, even Dan Millman's The Inner Athlete from back in the day. That was pretty good, you know. Uh, Building Mental Muscle was a good one. The Power of Focus. Um, Performing Your Best by Kubistan. That's also a pretty good one. And of course, there's Lair's toughness training. I've got that here too. And then if you get out of that sort of thing, you start looking at stuff like Ken Wilber and some of the other guys but there was the one book they use to determine, EFTNJ or I whatever, your
The Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, the Myers.
Myers-Briggs test. But there's one book on that's sports. And see if I can find it here. And I liked it. But on the mental side, I tend to look at stuff not related to sport psychology more. Here we go. Let's see.
I'm looking all this up right now.
Yeah,
MBTI
it's
type and sports now. Is it called the sports type?
might be who's the author?
Never mind, never mind. This is just a Myers-Briggs test.
Oh, let's see. I've given some books away. That's why I don't think I can find it up there.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I just thought I'd ask because I know you've probably read some of the classics too, and nowadays there's so much signal and not much noise. So much noise and not so much signal.
Well,
Everything's
I was pretty fortunate because I was at Cal and then at Oregon, and both places had strong psychology programs. And then sports psychology basically emanated out of Cal State Hayward and San Jose State. That's kind of the beginning of it all. And I was lucky enough to meet most of those people and know them. And early on in my career, in the early 80s, um, darn. There is one good book on using the Myers-Briggs for sport. And I can see it in my head. I can see the size of it. But I couldn't spot it right off the bat. If I see it, I'll send it over to you, Mike. I know it's there. I mean, I think it's there. I do a lot of stuff out of the business world too. So, I mean, when what's his name came out with his book a long time ago, shoot, almost 20 years ago, probably not quite, on why, pretty contemporary guy now.
Simon Sinek.
Hmm?
Simon Sinek.
Yeah, Simon. When Simon came out with that was a pretty good breakthrough book in terms of trying to understand stuff. You've seen me talk about if it ain't broke, break it. which you've got, which I think is a really good psychology book. It's in a sense, you know. Um, did you find The Thinking Body, Mike?
Yes, I did, and I've watched a couple of videos on it as well.
Have you?
I started reading. I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard. It's not an easy read.
No, no,
No,
it's not.
not. I mean, that's 1933,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
I have to be in like the right mindset to like read that book.
you do. I should have warned you ahead of time on that one. Yeah, yeah, you do. Um, but when you get, I mean, she gets into it, and just but that whole sense of what movement is from somebody from the 30s, you know, we're just starting to understand what she was talking about.
Have you ever seen any of the videos associated with it as well?
I have not. No, you brought
There's
that up. I'm going to look them up now. Yeah.
yeah, it's it's like
Who?
free flowing movement, right? And listening to the body. But they're all like dance, they're all dance people interpreting what she's saying.
Yeah, well, that could be a little weird too, but
That's yeah. It was quirky, but like it's still interesting.
yeah. The Thinking Body, study of the book by Mabel Ellsworth.
Mabel Ellsworth, that's right.
Hmm. Yeah, and the important part to that book is the fact that that's the one book that Dr. Hay gave me.
Yeah.
I mean, you imagine one of the top two biomechanists in the world, he hands me that book and said, "This is what biomechanics is about."
But it's cool to see stuff like that and understand how their mind works. You know what I mean? What they appreciate.
Well, movement and dance is way ahead of what most of us are thinking anyways. It is. They've been doing it a lot longer, that's for
Yes.
sure. You know,
Hmm.
and there was a creative scientific aspect to dance in the 20s and 30s. It came out of that sort of that exploration of the human being in the 20s that was a little wild, and then it went back to conservative, as you went on. But yeah, that's a book that Thinking Body online course. It's funny that people are taking advantage. I don't think anybody even heard of that book, except in the dance community. Because Dr. Hay gave that to me in 91 or 92.
Apparently, she's a very, very big deal in the dance
Yeah,
community.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Looking here. Yeah.
There was, I researched the way my mind works. I want to
Yeah.
know like all about it and stuff. But it was, I mean, people, she's like revered.
Yes, she is today for sure. You know, Interesting. I'll have to look at some of these videos, see what they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Let me
I
know.
haven't
Let me
I
know what you
haven't read the
think.
book. I haven't read the book except for excerpts in years. I mean, I read the front to back in the day, but now it's like I do have it. It's in a special place on the shelf over there. I know where it is. It has its own shelf. All right, guys, I got my dog barking at the door. I have to go get some stuff done because I have to get ready to leave 48 hours um, for Sweden, which I'm sure they're going to be. I don't know what I'm going to say to these guys in Sweden. You know, I just don't know what I'm going to say. They they want me to just talk about my history. I'm like, that's the worst thing in the world for me to talk about. It's like, come on.
When people say that, you're at a seminar,
Yeah, yeah, talking seminar.
dude, they just want to hear anything you have to say. I'm telling you. So whatever you want to talk about, people want to know who you are, how your mind works, what makes you tick. Like, bro, that's all to me. The fine details are cool. Sprinkle some of those in, but really, just whatever the fuck comes to mind. You could talk politics if you want, and they just love to hear how your brain fucking
I'm
works.
sure they're going to ask about that anyways, because everybody does. So, I mean, it's like, what's wrong with you guys? I don't know. I wish I could explain it.
And what
Sorry.
might seem boring for you to talk about yourself to these people, they get to build a nice story about. the legend of Randy Huntington there, you know?
Yeah, it's most of us aren't comfortable talking about ourselves because first of all, the things you remember are mostly your failures, or the
Yeah.
things. I mean, my journey is not a normal journey by any stretch of the imagination, with having to volunteer for years and never having played sports, which freaks people out. Like, what do you mean you didn't play sports? I'm like, well, I played sports in high school some, but I never excelled at sports, that's for sure. But that's what got me into coaching is because I had the body to excel in sports, but I didn't have the mind.
Mhm.
And nobody developed that. Nobody worked on that aspect of it because that was the old military days. You either had it or you didn't. And the killer instinct get transferred to the intellect. Now you're competitive as a coach rather than as an athlete.
Yeah.
Your ego still takes it's still there. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's where a lot of coaches actually miss the boat. Like a lot of younger coaches, they forget they forget where our new arena is. You know what I mean? Like what the main focus really is. Is it us or is it them? And how are we going to benefit them as best as we can?
It's all about them.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, if you're walking around thinking it's about you, then you got a problem. Or your athletes too, put it that way,
Both
or
do.
students or whatever. Yeah.